Hi friends, thank you for taking time out of your week to spend a little with me. I appreciate you. This week we're discussing a tragedy of familicide from Iowa City, Iowa. I ask you all to join me as we remember the Sueppel family. Cheryl Margot Kesterson was born on February 21st, 1966, to her parents John and Gisela Kesterson. The couple had another child named David. Cheryl grew up in Sioux City, Iowa, where she graduated from City High School in 1984. She attended the University of Iowa, where she studied education. Cheryl was very social, and she could always be counted on. Her best friend described her as a go-getter. Nothing stopped her from doing what she wanted. In 1985, Cheryl was out for the night with her group of friends. They found themselves at the Fieldhouse Bar in Iowa City. It was here she met Stephen Sueppel. Stephen Francis Sueppel was born on August 13, 1965 in Iowa City, Iowa, to parents William and Patricia Sueppel. He was their sixth child, having 8 in total. Stephen looked up to his older siblings. Growing up, Stephen attended Regina School before graduating in 1983. He attended the University of Northern Iowa, where he studied business. During his time in college, he worked at the Elks Country Club, where he held several positions. He returned to Iowa City on the weekends to spend time with his old friends and attend the football games. Stephen was described by his friends as the lovable nerd. Everyone loved his funny demeanor and wanted to be around him. His humor was like a switch. He could turn it on instantly, but never at the expense of someone else. He was athletic, spending his free time playing basketball or tennis. He had unending energy. But mostly, he was said to be a loyal friend. It was during one of these weekend trips that he met Cheryl. Friends who were there the night the Sueppels met said it was love at first sight. Cheryl and Stephen met eyes across the room and found their way towards each other. They spent the entire evening talking, and from that moment on, they were inseparable and always happy. The two dated throughout college. The relationship was both Cheryl and Stephen's first serious relationship. They both graduated with a bachelor's in their respective areas of study. Shortly after completing their educations, the couple tied the knot on June 13, 1990, at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Iowa City. Cheryl found a career as a teacher with the Iowa City School District. She held positions at both Penn Elementary and Wickham Elementary. Stephen found success with the Hills Bank and Trust Company in Hills, Iowa. He quickly climbed the corporate ladder, landing himself in the position of vice president and controller for the company. For years, the couple focused on their careers before deciding they wanted to start a family together. But it was not an easy journey. According to friends, Cheryl suffered from complications with allergies, which resulted in several sinus surgeries. She had daily medications she took, which Cheryl claimed she would have to use for the rest of her life. She felt she would not be able to have an uncomplicated pregnancy due to these medications, so the couple decided not to conceive their own child, but adopt instead. Their first son, Ethan, was born on November 2, 1997 in Korea. The Sueppels adopted him when he was almost a year old. He was a 4th grade student at Longfellow Elementary, and according to those close to the family, Ethan was intelligent. He possessed great social skills and was very mature for his age. He played soccer and the cello, but his favorite hobbies were fishing with his dad and golfing with his grandpa. Parenthood was great for the couple, and many of Cheryl's friends felt she had found her talent, being a mother. Cheryl ended up leaving her teaching job to focus full-time on being a homemaker. Just 2 years after the arrival of Ethan, the family adopted another son. Seth was born on July 1, 1999. He was a 2nd grade student at Longfellow Elementary. Seth was passionate about animals, and friends said he could watch his pet rabbit for hours. He was a little shyer than his older brother, but was always up for a good adventure. He loved music and liked to garden with his mother. The Sueppels went on to adopt 2 more children. Their 3rd child was a daughter they named Myra, who was born on March 25, 2002. Myra was in kindergarten at Longfellow Elementary and described as a fireball. She wasn't shy in the slightest bit and had so much character for a young child. She loved to entertain and always had something to show off to visitors and family alike. Their youngest daughter, Eleanor, was born on October 31st, 2004. She enjoyed dressing up. She always wore her tights and tap shoes. Eleanor was very attached to her parents and spent her free time playing with her Barbies. She was said to be very bubbly. With their family growing, the Sueppels decided to purchase a 2,500 square foot home on the east side of Iowa City, located in the Windsor Ridge development. The neighborhood was very family-oriented and close-knit. The Sueppels were a perfect fit. The family was very active in their community and church. Cheryl specifically belonged to several book clubs, adoption support groups, Catholic women groups, Bible studies, and served as a board member for the Iowa's Children's Museum. The Sueppels were described as a loving family with good values. They liked to help others, including volunteering their free time to the community. Friends described them as a beautiful family inside and out. However, past their public facade, the Sueppels were facing a crisis. In February of 2008, Stephen was indicted by a federal grand jury on the charges of embezzlement and money laundering. The charge came from a year-long investigation conducted by the FBI. Stephen's manager at Hills Bank and Trust brought evidence showing that Stephen stole over $550,000 from July 26, 2000 to September 12, 2007. Stephen was fired from the bank on October 3, 2007. After his arrest, Stephen was questioned regarding the missing funds. Initially, Stephen told the FBI investigators that he took the money to support a cocaine habit, stating over 3 years he took $219,000. He later recanted the story, explaining he made it up because he couldn't think of any other reason to explain the missing money. There was no evidence to support Stephen using the money for gambling or drug use. He hinted at the fact that he diverted some of the funds to his personal accounts. During his preliminary trial, Stephen pleaded not guilty to the charges. He was released on a $250,000 personal bond, and his trial was scheduled for April 21, 2008. The news of Stephen's legal troubles were surprising, since the family always seemed so put together. On the surface, neither Stephen or Cheryl made it apparent they were worried about the impending trial. Friends claimed at a school reunion they couldn't tell he was facing any legal troubles. He was just a funny guy who didn't complain about any of his problems. Cheryl returned to work after her husband was fired. The Sueppels' friends said they were proud people who tried to minimize their problems. Stephen felt shame for what he'd done, but didn't lack support. Their friends and family continued to be there for him. Cheryl never blamed him and also supported him. She would always say Stephen was a good man, husband, and father, regardless of what was happening. The mounting pressure from the upcoming trial seemed to be too much, and ultimately led Stephen to make a drastic decision. On March 24, 2008, at 6:31 a.m., 911 dispatchers received a call from an unidentified man. The man advised the police to go to his house immediately, before abruptly ending the call. 5 minutes later, the dispatcher received a number of calls regarding a 1998 Toyota Sienna. One frantic caller detailed what happened. The driver of the van was traveling at a high speed on Interstate 80 when he suddenly crashed into a concrete pillar. The woman sobbed as she explained it seemed intentional. She had planned to stop and try to help the driver, but the van had burst into flames. From registration information and eventual dental records, the driver was identified as Stephen Sueppel. While the scene on Interstate 80 was worked, officers headed to the address provided by the first call. Within minutes, police discovered the bodies of 5 individuals, later identified as Cheryl, Ethan, Seth, Myra, and Eleanor Sueppel. No one appeared to be bound, and the home had no signs of a break-in. Cheryl was found in her bed in the master bedroom. 2 of the children were found in their beds. The third was in their sibling's bed and seemed to be placed there after his death, and the 4th child was found in the basement toy room. The bodies were taken for autopsy, where the cause of death was determined as blunt force trauma to their upper torsos and head. Back at the scene, police recovered 2 baseball bats they believed were used in the murders. Initially, police weren't sure what happened. They could only assume the crash on Interstate 80 and the homicides were related. But as the search of the scene continued, they discovered not only a series of messages on the family's answering machine, but also a 4-page note in the kitchen. The messages and the note were left by Stephen Sueppel, and they seemed to chronicle his last hours alive. The previous day was Easter Sunday. The Sueppels attended Easter Mass where they saw family, who noted nothing unusual about them. Then around 11:30 p.m., he left his first message. He called his father and brother's law firm, where he was apologetic for his actions, and stated his family was in heaven. According to the medical examiner's findings, it's believed Cheryl was already gone by this point. Between the message and 3:45 a.m., Stephen gathered his children into the van, which was parked in the garage. He tried to kill the children and himself by carbon monoxide poisoning. However, it didn't work, so he took them back inside and bludgeoned them to death. At 3:45 a.m., he left a message at the office of his former employer. It's unclear what he left in this message. 3:50 a.m., he left a message on his home answering machine where he expressed regret for his actions. By 4:01 a.m., he left a second message on his answering machine. He claimed he tried to drown himself in the Iowa River at the Lower City Park, but he just kept floating. Then he went quiet from 4:01 to 6:31 a.m. No one knows what Stephen was doing between the time of his last message to his 911 call. Throughout the 4-page note, Stephen admitted to what he'd done to his family, but continued to apologize for it. It revealed details about his state of mind at the time. He noted how embarrassed he was from the criminal charges he faced. He explained his expected absence from the home would leave his wife alone to raise and support 4 kids. The despair over what his life became led him to believe this was the best solution for their family. The University of Iowa's sociologist and police investigators felt the pressure to maintain his family's standard of living after Cheryl stopped working motivated him to commit the embezzlement. The couple adopted 4 children and took out a $250,000 loan for their home on one income, which may have resulted in some financial strain. The U.S. Attorney's Office requested the case be dismissed once they received a copy of his death certificate. The Sueppel family's funeral was held on March 29, 2008, at St. Mary's Catholic Church. The community struggled to comprehend the deaths and had varying opinions about Stephen being buried alongside the victims. Ultimately, their family determined Cheryl wouldn't have wanted it any other way. The Sueppels were a family, and regardless of his actions, Cheryl's family loved him like a son. The Sueppel family were laid to rest at the St. Joseph Cemetery. Hi friends, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, so leave them below and we can chat about this case. If you found this to be informative, please consider giving the video a thumbs up to let YouTube know you want more from me. And lastly, if you're not subscribed yet, you should, because we would love to have you under the ash tree. Thank you, my friends, for tuning in once again and showing your love and support. You all are truly the best, and I hope you have a great week ahead of you, because you deserve it. As promised, next upload will be supernatural, cryptid, I'm not sure which yet, but I'm sure by the time I have this uploaded for all of you, I will have figured it out. But stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.